Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly MMA Cycles Market Update. This is Gianni DePoce, your host. It's good to be back with you on this Friday afternoon. We are reviewing what went on in the market, stocks, bonds, currencies, commodities, as well as what took place geocosmically like we do on every single Friday. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. Take a look by starting off with the Dow Jones. We've been correcting for most of this week. We started off with a Sun Square Neptune signature on the 18th of June. We then had a sextile between Jupiter and Saturn, and then Saturn went retrograde last weekend as well. So looking into the week ahead, I'm really keen on watching various technical levels of support and resistance, especially when it comes to the square signature between Mars and Uranus that's set to take place on the 26th of June. And then on the 28th, we have Sun trine Saturn. And so I think that we have to be aware of this pattern that's been brewing in the Dow Jones, this inverted head and shoulders formation. And then we also have Neptune retrograde unfolding on the 30th. And then on the 2nd of July, Venus square Uranus. So a couple of key square signatures involving Uranus. And taking a look at the NASDAQ here, we know that Uranus rules tech and the NASDAQ. So right now, Venus and Mars are both in the sign of Leo, and they're in a wide orb of a conjunction right now, not exactly very close to each other, within a few degrees, but we're going to be having, that square signature between Venus and Uranus and Mars and Uranus over the next 2 weeks. So I think we need to be alert for a break of technical support or resistance. We're coming down right now as well in the NASDAQ, like we are in the other stock indices. So it could lead to a reversal. We know that Neptune is one of the most powerful geocosmic signatures per our studies. So that's something to keep in mind over the next couple of weeks as well. Let's take a look at the 10-year Treasury yield. Down a little bit here on Friday, but off the lows of the day, still consolidating overall. We've been range bound over the last several months here as the market still tries to figure out what's going on with respect to inflation. But we know as we approach that Venus retrograde period that begins on July 22nd, that we could see a shift in inflation expectations, between Saturn turning retrograde and Neptune turning retrograde this month. If we look back from a year from now, or go back a year, we remember that the peak inflation CPI reading of 2022 occurred in June, and we also had Saturn and Neptune going retrograde that month as well. So everyone's kind of going with the consensus now that inflation is defeated, but we saw with the Bank of England this past week had a 50 basis point surprise rate hike when most were just anticipating a 25 basis point rate hike. I think we need to be on alert for another round of rate hikes, and that could coincide with the July meeting at the Fed. So let's take a look at the US dollar. I'm going to look at UUP, the ETF here. Nice rebound here on Friday. Look to have possibly just confirmed a higher low with respect to the trend. We talked about what's going on in the Japanese yen for subscribers, and we went very in depth on that during the Course 2 investment retreat a couple weeks back. So the dollar is up nicely here on Friday, capping off a strong week. So we'll have to see, if this higher interest rate prospect in the U.S. is going to attract capital back into dollars. Let's take a look at USO, the crude oil ETF. I think we have to keep a very close watch on this going into Neptune retrograde next week. We're falling here after starting off the week on a strong note. So could see another reversal back higher sometime next week. But if not, if crude oil starts to break down, then that kind of answers the whole inflation question, right? So we need to monitor that closely. But if we look at what's been going on in the grain complex, I'm gonna look at corn and wheat here, and even beans for just a moment. We skyrocketed to start the week, and we're giving back some of those gains now. So I would look for perhaps another reversal come the Venus square Uranus signature next weekend. Looking at beans here coming down from that sharp rally, and you can see wheat here down the least. And remember, wheat feeds the world. Beans might go into some other agricultural inputs and feed livestock, but beans or rather wheat is what feeds the world. Let's take a look at GDX, the gold mining ETF. We talked about this in the monthly ETF report that was published this past week. Have a little bit of bullish divergence here And, we're still on the defensive, making lower lows and lower highs, but we are in the time band for an important reversal to take effect. So we'll see if Neptune retrograde has any impact on a potential reversal in precious metals. And of course, I want to take a look at cryptocurrencies coming off a primary cycle trough from June 15th, and we're pressing up against resistance here. And this is really appealing to me, given what's going on with Uranus over the next couple of weeks. Mars square Uranus on the 26th, and then Venus square Uranus on the 2nd of July. It wouldn't be the first time that we saw a big break above resistance in Bitcoin during a Venus-Uranus signature. So this is what I think we need to keep an eye on over the next couple of weeks in Bitcoin, as it looks to be in the early stages of a new primary cycle, which would render it bullish for the time being. So that takes care of all the markets that I wanted to share with you this week. Thank you so much for watching. A couple of brief announcements. We will be starting course 3 of the Merriman Market Timing Academy on Saturday, June 24th. We'll be looking at geocosmic correlations with shorter term cycles. So if you're more of a trader instead of an investor, you may be interested in this course especially. Next week, we will also have the monthly grains report published by MMTA graduate and analyst Wyatt Fellows, and the monthly MMA addendum report published by MMTA graduate Puyan Zulfargarnia, analyst as well. So you can find all the details for what I just shared at www.mmacycles.com. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you same time, same place next week after Neptune goes retrograde.